Welcome back to the search bar.
After
The pod.
almost 15 years in the industry, I finally found the yin to my yang. Traditionally, in our industry,
Me as an advertiser, as a marketer, for a long time, I would just network in the Advertising Federation
they're
marketing.
calling you for your expertise. Sometimes just going back to that, what are we trying to accomplish here? And is there that person, which is what my firm does, that can guide you through the areas of exposure? The worst thing I would want to see for a successful owner is some type of GoFundMe page.
You're a law firm. You can get sued, right? You could be stuck in a lawsuit.
I think I drop your name probably every other day to someone in the community that could use your services. And so I hope they are listening today and they follow up with you.
Have any other kind of tips for them where to maybe start? What's like listening to this podcast? What's the first thing you should do?
But here is what we're trying to get to with these analogies, from the Cab Franc to the orange to the white, is it really is about research. It
And I
really
always
is.
like to invite people that are smarter than me so you guys can learn from them. Today is no different.
I love that idea and I love that point and how it relates when you're, working with the business owner or the head of marketing or the firm director.
I
And their
love that. And I already feel at peace and tranquil. Welcome back to the search bar, the podcast for law firms who want smarter growth without the guesswork. Wine optional. I'm Eric Ritter, the SEO sommelier and founder of Digital Neighbor. After 12 plus years helping firms scale from the inside out, I'm here to share what actually works. Sharper marketing, stronger systems, and strategies built to grow with you. And if you're running a law firm and want more of the right leads, larger retainers, and more cases closed, you're in the right spot. Today's episode blends two of my favorite things: law firm growth and wine. We're exploring what law firms can learn from wineries about cultivating growth, creating sustainability, and protecting what you've worked so hard to build. And I always like to invite people that are smarter than me so you guys can learn from them. Today is no different. Joining me today is Gretta Zutz, a financial services professional in South Florida. Gretta helps professionals, business owners, and families make smart financial decisions that protect their wealth and create long-term stability. She's built a reputation for fostering meaningful connections and helping professionals grow through collaboration and community. Gretta, welcome to the search bar. And before we get started, I just heard from a little birdie that you might have a hot off the presses business update for us even here.
Yes, thank you so much, Eric. And I am so honored to be here today on the search bar and to know you. I think I drop your name probably every other day to someone in the community that could use your services. And so I hope they are listening today and they follow up with you, because if they want the best for their marketing, they're going to call you and your company. As we know, award-winning in the Tampa area and beyond. My update is, after almost 15 years in the industry, I finally found the yin to my yang. Traditionally, in our industry, you have insurance and investments, and those two shall not meet. But now they do meet in a firm that we launched with my partner, Mari Delgado, who is a CFP, a certified financial planner. Very important. We launched Aura Legacy. So we are a female-led, inclusive firm where we talk to all business owners and anyone who wants to be guided through the financial journey. We're here to help.
I love that. And I already feel at peace and tranquil and already taken care of just by hearing the name Aura, right? Just really gives kind of that, and no pun intended, gives the aura, right, of kind of being taken care of, kind of, laying on the beach, waiting for that massage and just kind of relaxing. Or at least that's the vibes I get from it. I hope that's what you guys are going for.
You've picked it up. One of our mottos is we meet you where you are, no judgment. We're walking with you, alongside you, bringing in experts like yourself when needed for the business owner, and really taking that top level view and also getting into the nitty gritty, getting into the soil, if you will, of the entire vineyard with our clients. So we're right there along with them, holding their hands as they make important decisions without judgment.
Love that. And already brought up vineyards, wine. We start off saying wine is optional, but who are we kidding? It's one of my favorite parts, talking about wine, talking about the wine recommendation. I always ask guests for a recommendation. And you brought an especially tasty recommendation today, Greta, a Cabernet Franc, a wine that I understand rewards patience, balance, and care, just like sustainable financial and business growth.
Yes, and the Cab Franc, I think, is like I walk into a wine store and I'm not the one who really knows what I'm looking for. Luckily, I have a sommelier in my family who is my
Lucky you,
sister.
that's awesome.
Yep, she owns, her own, like, wine distribution, like, special events. Her name is Lexi Zutz, same last name. She's in North Carolina. She is in construction, and this was sort of a side project for her, but luckily, anytime I'm going to a dinner party or having an event, SOS to my sister, and what can we do? So the Cobb Franc is very interesting, and I also wanted to throw another thing in there that kinda relates to today, which is, Eric, have you ever had an orange wine?
Have not had an orange.
So this is the curveball I brought to today. I want to open your mind to the orange wine, and here's where I'm asking you. Take a guess. Orange wine is made from what? Oranges? Or what is it made from?
It sounds like it would be made from oranges just based on the name.
I'm going to stay with that through line as we continue our conversation. That is a common misconception about orange wine, that it's made from oranges, or that it's a funky wine, or that it's not really something for me. Orange wine is actually made from white grapes with some fermentation in the process of the skin on. So most people think rosé is sort of the in between white and red. Actually, orange wine is more your in between, but only made from white grapes. So I'm opening your mind already to something new. And here's a crazier idea that will relate to the rest of our conversation today. White wine is only made from white grapes?
So I know the answer to that one, but that's also because I feel like I'm a little more educated than the standard wine drinker. Is if you remove the skin from the grapes prior to fermentation, you can make white wine out of red grapes.
There you go. Case in point, case of wine, if you will, from your favorite vineyard or mix it up from your favorite local store. But here is what we're trying to get to with these analogies from the Cab Franc to the orange to the white is it really is about research. It really is about talking to an expert. I think what law firms really need to pull back and understand when they're working with you, when they're working with us, is that one opinion is great and it's wonderful to rely on, what ChatGPT might said for a starting point, or what you've always done as a firm, or what your counterparts or your mentor has done. But really, the expertise lies in working with an expert who can open your mind to the orange wine, who can let you know that the white wine is not necessarily from the white grape. So I think what we're trying to get to here with all of these fun analogies, and please do explore Cab Francs, but also don't be scared of an orange wine. If you have a Greek grocer nearby, or a Turkish grocer, or just a local, like, smaller boutique shop, ask them. Maybe you can do 3 to 4 samplings. Doesn't have to be a, expensive bottle. Maybe pair it with like Mediterranean fare or just drink it on its own. But I really want to open the listeners to something new. And what a fun thing to do. Maybe throw a dinner party and just go lean all the way into the orange wine of it all. In the same way, when you're thinking about your business, what we're going to talk about today, and the through line here with the wine is educating yourself is key, not making assumptions is key, and just taking that extra time when you're talking to a professional. Don't just assume because your firm has used the same professional for years, or because you turn to that person for one thing, they know everything about another thing. So really do your research. That is your, responsibility as the lead or the business owner or the person reporting to the owner of the firm to go beyond sort of what's in front of you and educate yourself a little bit more with certain things that we're going to talk about today. So that's just what I want to open your mind to and protect the poor.
I love that, Greta. And what a phenomenal kind of segue into everything there. Obviously, wine is a great analogy. Like I mentioned, I'm trying to educate myself more on wine. And the more you learn about it, the more you see you really don't know anything. Your understanding of is like, wow, there's so many different aspects to it, you know? Um, and things are changing as well, which I thought was interesting as I'm kind of going through the courses and everything is, you know, take it or leave it, but climate change is real. And with climate change, where certain grapes can grow and certain wines is actually changing. So everything we've known for a long time about wine is actually changing as well. So educating yourself and staying on top of things is actually very topical, even for something as old as and established as this grape juice that the Romans brought all over their empire, right, is still changing now 2,000 years later.
I love that idea and I love that point and how it relates when you're, working with the business owner or the head of marketing or the firm director and they're calling you for your expertise, sometimes just going back to that, what are we trying to accomplish here? And what is the end goal of what we're trying to do and also taking it in bite-sized pieces. Sometimes I find when we work with a new business owner, it can be analysis paralysis, right? We're throwing a lot of information at them and we've had to sort of revamp our process and sort of say one thing at a time. Even if that owner wants to get to step 12, we have to come back to the process. And you can't rush the grapes. You can't rush the process. Some things can be streamlined, which I'm sure you work with business owners on all day.
Absolutely. Well, let's bring it back. We're talking about wine, and I feel like wine and law firms go together naturally. And a successful law firm, like a successful winemaker, right, needs to understand, like you said, kind of cultivating their vineyard. And so, just curious, Greta, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I'm going to turn the mic on you. And just curious, like, what kind of mistakes do you see? I always love talking about mistakes, right, that people make. Do you maybe see professionals make when they try to grow too fast?
I think if we relate it to a vineyard just for a moment, because it's just so relative and it makes sense to me. Really successful vineyards are sort of built for knowing that there will be periods of expansion, there'll be periods of contraction, that certain things can't be rushed, certain things are procedural. And what we relate that back to a law firm or an owner would be often you open your firm, you hang your shingle, or you've made partner, you take over the firm. It can be very exciting and you can be very focused on your target area, whether you're an trust and estates attorney, a real estate attorney, whatever that specialty is. Business is coming in, you're doing well, and yet 9 out of 10 times when we meet that owner in a growth phase, the question of have you thought about how important you are to the business as the rainmaker, as the leader, as the one cultivating and sort of setting the brand? The answer is no. Lawyers, attorneys, specialty, anyone in that business owner space is working in the business. So sometimes they haven't taken that step back. They maybe thought they did when they started. They maybe thought they did when they brought on a partner. But something as simple as answering the question, have you looked at your partnership agreement? Now, this is an attorney, and we're asking them to look
Mhm.
at a contract.
Yeah.
In theory, should be easy, but we sometimes do everything for everyone else, including our clients, and not for ourselves. So, where is that agreement? Are you the key person in your business? What happens if I'm the key person in my law firm and something happens and I'm incapacitated for a year, for 2 years? Who's paying my salary? Am I paying it to myself? Is it coming from a fund that is within the firm? Are my partners responsible for that? What if I'm disabled? So these questions might have happened at the formation of a firm, but they're very rarely addressed in a complete way. And the complete way to address them is with actually funding the terms of the contract. So you and I start our own vineyard, so inspired by this conversation, and we start E&G's Wine Vineyard. Not a great name. I think you as a marketer could probably help me with that. But let's
It's
say
a
we do
working
that.
title. It's a working.
Working title.
Yeah.
We run with it. We do great. We build our orange wine and we also build Eric's favorite, nuanced new dessert wine, whatever it is. We're crushing it. Get it? But yet we've never actually had the conversation that if I am unable to work and bring in my part to the business, that you're responsible for my salary. And what we should have done is pulled back a little and had that conversation in a contract. Sometimes it's called a buy sell, a shareholder agreement. Very common that an owner of a firm would know these sort of moats around the castle, if you will, the contract language. But then what is actually in the contract is so rarely completed. And I'm not really sure why that is. I'm not sure if it's the excitement of the formation. I'm not sure if it's not reviewing it with someone who really cares about the business. Oftentimes you're turning to your CPA quarterly, you're turning to your own attorney, but is there that person, which is what my firm does, that can guide you through the areas of exposure? The worst thing I would want to see for a successful owner is some type of GoFundMe page when it didn't need to happen, or that the business itself becomes financially responsible when we could have really easily put these layers of protection in place. So, just to summarize, who's the key person? What is the impact if you're not there in the business for an extended period of time? We're not talking about being out for a week with the flu. We're talking something happens, accident, illness, injury, and you can't light up that firm like normal. And then what is the contract and what is the funding underneath that that completes the firm, allows you to step away from the business and still have it operational while still paying all your expenses, paying your employees, paying your rent, and thus continuing as if there was no blip in that firm.
Love that. And kind of coming from a place what it sounds like you don't want to, you want to be ready when it happens and know ahead of time, right? You want to have that foresight to do what's right for the business and not have fear of like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? If, like you said, a week for the flu is one thing, but actually, a bigger thing, you're a law firm, you can get sued, right? You could be stuck in a lawsuit, you could be having a market downturn, right? There's all these things that you need to be prepared for to build something sustainable, right? Something that's going to last for a long time. And I couldn't agree more, Greta. So it was interesting. I just want to come back to the beginning when you said like looking at the agreement. Would you say that's probably that first step for a firm that wants to safeguard what they've built? Or do you have any other kind of tips for them where to maybe start? What's like listening to this podcast? What's the first thing you should do?
Think doing three things. Number one would be finding that agreement, which could be often when we get involved or called to action to work with the business owner, that agreement hasn't been revised in years, sometimes decades. I am able to share this story. I have a signed note from the client. I first worked with two attorneys about 15 years ago. I looked at this agreement that they did put in place. They did fund it with some type of life insurance. And on the beneficiary page, Eric, now this agreement was about 30 years old when I reviewed it 15 years ago. Instead of it being each other listed as the beneficiary or the business listed, it was the insurance agent listed as the beneficiary. That kind of oversight can't happen in today's world of compliance. However, this was something I found upon review. So
Wow.
that's a
My
big,
jaw is on the
big,
table if you guys
yeah.
aren't watching the video here. That's
Law and Order,
unbelievable.
give me a call. I can help you
Right.
with some of the actual writing of what happens in the field. Netflix special. We're ready to sell, Eric, right? We'll sell.
Right,
Uh,
right.
but it's just that idea that it's not a set it and forget it thing with these documents. Number two, what is the valuation of the company? Have you had real valuations done? Not just, well, we've launched E&G wine, we're crushing it, we love it. We're making 10 million, so our value is 100 million because we were working so hard. No, the valuation is a very technical, analytical, the valuation experts that will do that work. And sometimes you want to spend the money and maybe get 2 to 3 different opinions. It's the appraisal on the house that you've built, because that could give us a starting point for the type of funding to fund the agreement. So number one, the agreement, operating or buy sell. Number two, even if you're a solopreneur, this is an interesting thing to review, the valuation. And number three, making sure that who you're asking whether you start with your CPA or you start with your advisor, do they actually do this type of planning? It's a very niche type of planning. It's a little different than exiting your business. You're still in your business. So you really want to ask that professional, not just turn right or left to you and assume that they have the answers. You want to be very clear that they can help you during this phase with this particular type of protection.
Love it. So we've talked about kind of cultivating growth, right? Kind of growing, protecting kind of what you've built. So I wanted to switch gears here, if you're okay with that, Greta. Maybe talk about maybe growing even more um, in a collaborative fashion. So we met through a networking group. It's a national networking group called Provisors. For those that don't know, if you're a Provisors member, shout out to you. Thanks for checking us out there. Um, and it's a community really built on like-minded professionals, collaboration, authentic referrals, authenticity. And I think law firm owners can probably take away a lot from that model. So, Greta, you're a networking powerhouse, I feel like. Do you have some nuggets there maybe for law firms of how they can network to drive business growth?
I think law firms, and if you disagree, let me know. I think law firms do a great job of networking with other law firms, which makes sense. But often when onboarding them and we're talking to the owner or we're talking to even the employees because we've done some sort of financial literacy program for the employees, we find that they haven't necessarily done the best job of networking with outside firms. Now, that might mean like outsourced CFOs, outsourced CMOs, marketing companies, other things like maybe a mortgage firm would be a really interesting thing. You might assume that a real estate or estate planning firm has a strong partnership with a mortgage brokerage, but often I see they could be right next door to each other and never the two shall meet. So maybe there's that comfort level in networking with other attorneys because there's an understanding of the scope of work, how they bill, referrals, introductions. But going outside your comfort zone, I have actually found for myself some of the best partners in collaboration have two things. They have a alignment with how my partner and I work in serving communities that are generally underserved. And number two, they're so willing to give, as are we. Give resources, give introductions, just be a stand for that person, kind of back to what we said up top, that I make myself look good just by saying your name every time I'm in one of these groups. Because for me, I know the scope of your work can change the trajectory for that law firm. So if they're introduced to you and they're making more money because they're working with you, then they have more money to protect with us and more planning to do with us. So it all comes back to, I think, the giving of it all and having true. I'd rather have five professionals that I know deeply and do know them deeply well for my clients than necessarily have, a Rolodex full of 100. So that's kind of like where I've stood in the networking of it all, or the net weaving, if you will.
Love that kind of building that really tight knit, high quality vineyard of trusted partners, right? Because you want to have, using the vineyard analogy, you want to have the high quality grapes, right? That are going to produce fantastic wine year over year versus having all over spread out, maybe on the wrong side of the mountain where you're like, okay, I got them growing over there, but that's really gonna be the wine that we're gonna give to, like, Winn-Dixie or Aldi or whatever, right?
The 2 buck
The
Chuck.
2 buck chuck, right? That's what it's yeah, from Trader Joe's, yeah, which there's nothing wrong with that, quite frankly.
Nothing. No, no.
No, but we're just saying that there is a difference, right? And kind of when you're networking there. And I really think that's such a powerful point, and that's something, especially true for law firms, but I think can apply to any industry, is we're just comfortable with like-minded people, right? We're really comfortable, me as an advertiser, as a marketer, for a long time, I would just network in the advertising federation, the marketing associations, and meeting like-minded people, and that's great. But and it's good to talk shop and what are the industry trends, right? But if you really want to grow, You really want to you need to step outside of that comfort zone and meet with people that aren't really in your industry or aren't don't have the same degree that you have, right? And so I thought that was such a great point, Greta, because I see that a lot from law firms I work with. I'm like, hey, what about if we refer these cases? I was like, well, I don't know any firms to refer these out to. And I'm like, okay, that's step one, right? Let's find some
Yep.
partners here, but then also other people to kind of grow that network. So I thought that was a really great point there, and just wanted to underline that a little bit there. And also kind of that community building, right? Because that really has that long term organic growth there. Awesome. Cool. Well, I think we did a fantastic job kind of going through the growth, the protecting, and kind of the collaboration as a growth tool and the networking and community. I want to make sure we leave everyone here with some really tangible takeaways. And I love to end with a checklist, Greta. So I would love to get into the 5 ways to cultivate and protect your law firm with your 5-part framework for growing like a winemaker and protecting like a planner. What do you think?
I love it. I pride myself on not usually using notes, but I'm going to use notes because I want to get this perfect. So here's the checklist, and we want to make it back to the search bar. Oh man, this content's so easy to do because unfortunately I do love wine also.
There
All
we
right,
go.
number
Yeah.
1, Eric.
Yep.
We want to plant intentionally. We want to build growth around your firm's strengths and core values. Number 2, we want to tend to the vineyard. Stay consistent with your client relationships and business systems. Number 3, protect those roots. What is the funding in the contract? What is the moat around the castle? What happens if you're the key person? You're not there to light up the business. 4, age gracefully. Be patient. Sustainable growth happens and compounds over time. So we want to review, but we also want to be patient with the plan. Share the harvest. We said it earlier. Collaboration, build a community. It's all there in the 5 steps. Plant, tend, protect, age, share. Not sure about the acronym there, but there you go.
Yeah, but I think it makes so much sense that one builds onto the next one. You really want to enjoy that harvest, right? That's where the fun happens. But you can't do that until you do all the steps before. So I just love kind of how they all build on top of each other, Greta. And this was such a fun episode. I think anybody listening to this can definitely have a lot of great takeaways that they can implement, but also listen to this over and over just for its entertainment purposes as well. I think is also a good use case here for this podcast, and just your perspective on how law firm owners can really grow and protect, and how that goes hand in hand. And so, but before we wrap here, I want to share with the listeners, with those watching as well, how they can connect with you, maybe learn more about your work. You know, you kind of interweaved it throughout the episode, kind of what you do, what your partner do there at Aura. But just curious, how can people get more resources and get in touch with you?
If you're old school and you're on the LinkedIn, I'm the only Greta Zutz that I know about. If there's another one, it's probably just me in an old profile, but
It's your dark
it's
account.
me. Yeah. On Instagram, my business partner and I are My Aura Legacy, AURA Legacy. Mari Delgado, Mari Delgado is my business partner, also a founder on LinkedIn, or you can go directly to our website, www.myauralegacy.com. And lastly, just a fun story. I was in Hawaii years ago, went to visit like an entire, Kona coffee, like they're harvesting the beans, and then the owner called me over and said, "I want you to try something." And she poured me wine. I'm like, "What is this?" She's like, "With the leftovers, we make wine." So basically imagine like the strongest Kona coffee
Yeah.
made into a wine. It was a fun day. I advise it for all.
Wow, that makes me want to go to Hawaii ever more. I love that. So cool. Well, Greta, thank you so much. And for our listeners, if you're ready to grow your firm with purpose and protection, book your free discovery call through our Motion for Marketing Success system. You can go to digitalneighbor.com to get started there. We also have all the links we mentioned today in the show notes. If you enjoyed today's episode, share it with a colleague, leave a review. It helps firms learn more about these strategies that actually work. Until next time, plan wisely, pour generously, and keep building a practice you love. Cheers. Greta, thank you again for joining. This was amazing.